Saying this from experience of myself and from working with tons of owners. Explicit, direct communication. That's the first thing that's missing.
Hello, and welcome to the Private Practice Owners Club. Nathan Shields here, and Adam Robin joining me, partner and buddy. Dude, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm jazzed up. I'm ready to go. I feel like it's been a while since we've done one of these.
It does feel like that, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm excited about today's podcast because this is probably something that the topic that we're going to discuss today is something that I think a lot of owners kind of bang their heads against the wall, trying to figure out how do I get this done? And so I think it can be very instructive. And once owners figure out the key, it can be instrumental in the transformation of their businesses, both in terms of production, money generation, culture, you name it, can affect so many different aspects of it. It makes life so much easier when you're able to figure out the secret to it. But today we're going to talk about how to get your team to act like owners within the business, how to help them become productive, capture the vision, buy in, stay engaged, you name it. How do we get, or even those unproductive people to be more productive, right? So you tell me, what made you think we wanted to go down this rabbit hole? Have you been talking to a number of owners about this in particular?
Well, it's my favorite topic. Well, it's one of my favorite. Yeah. I love doing this stuff, man.
I think you've said that about a number of topics.
Yeah, you've probably. I just love it.
Marketing, recruiting, we'll add this one to it too.
Well, I love to empower people and change people and see the change in others, right? So maybe that's a big topic, but I wrote this down as a prompt for myself like I was journaling one morning and I wrote this down. I was going to journal on this and I started dissecting this sentence down, how to get your team to think and act. And I broke down a pretty cool framework in my brain of how I view it. And it came out to be something that was like, I thought was pretty cool. And I just felt like I had to share it.
So what's the headline?
How to get your team to think and act like owners. And so are doing all the heavy lifting. And, we get to this, we start off with like, how do I get patients in the door? And then we get to like, how do I build some systems? But then we get to this stage where it's like, systems are built, but I'm the only one following the rules. Why isn't anybody else doing this? And I'm still working a lot. I can't get them to get excited about the work. It's kind of a selfish culture. They're threatening me with pay raises and they want to quit and I can't find anybody to replace them. And so I'm talking to you. If that's you, I'm talking to you today. I want you to listen up because I think I got something.
Notepad.
That's right. I think I got something that might be useful for you.
Let's listen up a little bit. Let's talk about it. Go.
Yeah.
Well, that can be very tough because a lot of the reason why therapy owners are in the place where they are is because, number one, they're high achieving individuals. Number two, they opened up their practices because they wanted to do things their way, right? I mean, they either had a greater sense of freedom, profit, or just, I don't want people telling me what to do. They probably have a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit, of course, right? So these are great people. They've got good grades to get into their therapy schools. They are high achieving individuals because they think well enough of themselves to open up a clinic, hang their shingle, put their name on it, and now they're like moving forward, even though most of them don't have any business experience whatsoever, right? And they're like, well, I'm just going to figure it out, right? If that guy down the street can
just work hard.
Yeah. If that guy I worked for before can figure it out, then I definitely can figure it out. Right. But idea of HR management. So getting your team on board and engaged. Most of us open up our practices having never experienced anything like that, where we were bought into a vision of someone else. We weren't fully engaged in someone else's vision. We didn't know what the company's purpose and values were and all that kind of stuff. So now we understand that we got to get our team to produce because, I'm a number one. If I'm not producing, I'm the largest revenue generator in the company, right? Those are the people that we're talking about, right? My stats are the best. My arrival rate's the best. My completed plans of care people who can actually complete their full plan of care. If we're measuring that stat, I'm the best at it, right? I get more people to come more often on a regular basis. My schedule's usually full. People want to see me. Yada, yada. How do you flip that script?
I would love to talk about it.
Let's go.
So I'm going to change the title.
Okay, let's go.
Instead of how to get your team to think and act like owners, it's going to be how to build a team that thinks and acts like owners. Okay. So let's break it down. First word, build. What does that mean? To me, it means it's on purpose. It's intentional. It's designed. It's not by accident. It's premeditated, which tells you that there's a system, there's a process, there's a framework. There's something to learn and then apply. Fair enough?
Yeah, I like all those words.
Right? So like, that's the first thing, is to recognize that this is built by design, and it's going to require something different from you. It's not going to require, it's not like, oh, I've got people that are in the same building as me, they should figure it out, right? That's probably the first mistake that we make. So I'd say number one, and we can kind of go back and forth on that, is the recognition that this is something that is intentionally built and not by accident. When you see a great culture, when you walk into a building and you feel the vibe and you see the people who are bought into their role, you're like, why do you care so much about this place? That's directly related to the person at the top of the organization who built that.
I think a lot of people, me included, who were naive at that early stage of my ownership journey. And I stayed in that early stage of my ownership journey for probably a decade before it's not limited to a certain amount of time. I didn't grow until I actually got some coaching and consulting to learn what it meant to be an owner and a leader in my company. In that early stage, prior to getting the coaching, I assumed that leading by example was the way to go.
Part of it, right?
Well, it's a part of it, but it's like, if you're just leading by example and not backing that up with systems and hoping everyone else, like looking back occasionally over the shoulder to see if everyone is following behind me, that's not the way to go. And so what I figured out and what you're talking to is being intentional about it. When we finally did get to that point where we had a pretty amazing culture in our company, we were very intentional about it.
Yeah,
we didn't sit down and let me know your experience. We didn't sit down and say, how can we improve culture? We just knew that as we held regular meetings, that we talked about our values and our purpose, hired and fired according to our values, held people accountable according to the values, and lived for something or worked for something greater than ourselves, the culture started falling into place. Did you experience the same thing?
Yes. I think the main takeaway that I would like people to get is that treating more patients doesn't build this.
No.
Right. Hiring more people doesn't build this. It's going to require you to stop doing that and actually focus on something different, right? Building a team, right? And I think it starts with building yourself, right? Defining who you want to be and what you want to believe in and what you're going to stand for,
right.
The behaviors and the characteristics that you value most and the beliefs that you value most, and being unapologetic about them and having zero tolerance for lack of them, even when it's hard or inconvenient, right?
Yep.
And that starts with you, because how are you going to hold people accountable if you can't hold yourself accountable? You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a standard of behavior and we have defined who we're going to be, we're going to strive to be, and we're going to pursue that with everything that we have. We're going to decide to actively pursue that with everything in our hat. And we're going to make that the most important thing.
For a lot of owners, it's surprising to me a little bit, but I know I tolerated it myself. There are people in the organization that I didn't want to interact with. This is my company, and I have people on my team that I was not excited about talking to or interacting with at all, as if I was an employee that had no control over that. And when it came to the point where I understood I was the owner and I had iterated the values that I expected to see, and I knew what my ideal avatar of an employee was like. And what I mean by that is, these are the type of people that I like working with. And it's okay to say that. It's like, I want to work with these type of people. They have these values. We share these same values. And I want to find more of them to join my team. And if current people on my team are not like that, I either need to coach them up or coach them out of the organization, right? And like you said, set the standard. This is what we're expecting and hold them accountable according to it. And so many owners, we've witnessed this in our group calls and our one-on-ones with our coaching clients, is they're like, I don't want to see that person ever again. That front desk person, I don't like her. The clinic, no one else in the clinic likes her. And I'm almost like, why? At what point, what kind of mental gymnastics are you having to go through to justify keeping this person that you don't like on your team? And they're typically not very productive people, and no one else in the clinic really likes them either. Why are you keeping it? So being intentional means, like, let's get intentional about who we want to work with, what we expect, what kind of productivity levels, to speak to the topic that we're talking about, are we expecting from each part of the organization? And let's guide our team up to that. Let's get intentional about building a team that, number one, we'd like to work with, that shares the same values. Number two, they're productive and highly productive. And number three, are looking to do more because they bought into our vision, right?
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned owner and leader. You know, you recognize that you had to be an owner and a leader. And if we're going to get our team to act like owners, it's important for us to define what that is, wouldn't you say? Right? Yeah. So how to build a team that thinks and acts like owners. What is an owner, I think, is where we're getting.
Yeah.
Right? And I put some words to it, and I'd like to hear what you think.
Okay.
So an owner to me means 100% accountability. And I'm going to put a few words to it, but it means that nobody's coming to save you. The buck stops with you. Everything is going to fall on your shoulders. Nobody's, and it's all up to you. And the acceptance of that. I'm accepting that I will do what is required, as long as it's legal and ethical, right? I will do as much legally and ethically that is required to push the vision forward. Even if it's hard, inconvenient, I'm not going to look for any handouts or anybody to come and save me. I'm choosing to own the outcome of this. So it's 100% ownership.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it starts, and we kind of alluded to that, with owning the culture, owning the identity. Nobody's going to come behind you and tell you that you have to be more accountable, or they have to be more, well, I don't know, what were some of your professional or
committed to commitment,
or have more gratitude, or whatever your values are. There's only one person who can hold that standard and who can own that. And that's you.
At least.
Initially.
Yeah. You have to define it. You have to set the standard.
Right. So now that we've defined what an owner is, it's like, how do we get our team to think and act like owners? Well, first you have to act like an owner. First, you have to act like an owner.
Right. You know, the way you're defining it reminds me of the book Extreme Ownership by 𝐓𝐄𝐀𝐌 𝐏𝐋𝐀𝐾𝐄𝐄. Right. If you don't know, 𝐓𝐄𝐀𝐌 𝐏𝐿ink, military guy, has his podcast, wrote a book called Extreme Ownership. And maybe a small summary of that book would be, if he's leading a platoon and there's a problem, even if the platoon members by themselves go rogue and do something and that causes a problem within the platoon, especially in war situation, he goes to his commanders and he's like, it's on me. That guy might have gone rogue, but it's on me, right? I'm taking responsibility for the lives of my platoon. And so when I think about ownership in that regard, the other thing that comes to mind is responsibility. Getting your team members individually to take full responsibility for their area of influence within their job description, and maybe even a little bit more. If they see something going out of line that is outside their job description, if they are true owners within the company, they say, whoa, something's going on, they might step outside of their job description, handle it appropriately through the proper channels, but make sure that the other team members are also falling in line and not afraid to discuss it, bring it up, address it with a supervisor if necessary, that kind of stuff, right? So when you're talking about ownership, the owner, and in my situation, that was me, of course, I wore a ton of different hats, and I had to wear all those hats and jump into situations back and forth between different hats within the organization. Those team members who tend to take on a real, true ownership and responsibility aren't afraid to step outside of the job description and the 40-hour work week to do more, be more. They do whatever's necessary
They do what is required
for the company. If
do
that
it as-
means
what-
showing up at a charity race on a Saturday morning and not getting paid for it, they're bought in. Let's go. We don't have to have a discussion about, am I getting paid for this or not? Right.
And so it's, everybody's kind of going through their challenges. And we've talked about all the different ways that private practice is hard and all the challenges that owners face. But are you owning them or are you complaining about them? Right. And that's where I wanted to go with it.
Yeah.
Like, are you taking ownership of the declining reimbursement problem? Are you taking ownership of the recruiting problem? Are you taking ownership of your lack of systems? Are you taking ownership of the clinic, all the problems in the clinic? Take full ownership and responsibility and do what is required to solve those problems. And when you do that, then that will be the thing that will inspire your team to take ownership, right?
And that's really easy for you, especially at the top of the pyramid as an owner, to place the blame elsewhere and not take ownership, as if you aren't cause of your environment. So I think I shared with this on a recent recruiting podcast episode that we did, but went to lunch with a friend, and in this smaller town in which we live in Arizona, he's like, yeah, it's hard to find good people here.
Right.
To work.
Own it. You're not owning it. Right?
That's exactly what I'm going at. Is he owning it, or is he just willing to be subject to the environment, to his supposed environment? And I said, well, with that mindset, right, you're not going to find good people to work for you here because you've already submitted to that belief. It is exactly how you believe. If you change that mindset and take ownership of it and say, you know what, I need good people, and it's up to me to find them in this place. I just need to find them.
Or I just don't know how to find them yet. I haven't learned I haven't figured out how to do that quite yet.
This talks to Will's point when we did the expert roundtable. He didn't word it the right way, so he threw us off. But he's like, there's no problem that recruiting can't fix. And when we finally teased it out of him and got down to the nitty gritty, even if it's not recruiting a provider or recruiting someone on your team, if you don't know how to get somebody like my friend to find the right people to get on your team, go recruit a coach or a consultant to teach you how to find those people, right? Maybe it's not on, but that's still taking ownership. Is like, I just need to figure it out. I don't have the answers. I understand that I don't know, but somebody does. I just need to find them so they can teach me and show me how to do it, right? And once I figure it out, now that's taking ownership compared to what we typically see. Oh, declining reimbursements.
Oh, patient canceled. No, nothing we can do about it. Oh, patient discharge, dropped off the schedule. Nothing. Oh, can't bill that many units. Oh, all the things that your team are giving you.
All the stuff, man. And it starts with the owner. So is your team really going to take ownership if you're exemplifying that? How can they can't be any more committed than you are. Right, to the organization. So you have to take ownership and commitment to the organization before you can expect them to do the same. And I saw it myself. They're talking about declining reimbursement, and I have a program to show you how to increase revenue in your company without seeing more patients. But dude, when I posted that on Facebook, when I put it out there, like crickets. I know all the owners want to know how to increase their reimbursement rates. But when I said, well, here's a potential solution, it's like, okay, I guess you really aren't committed to increase your reimbursement rates, right? I don't know I'm not saying I was the best marketer, but I'm just saying, at least if it was out there and people were really concerned about declining reimbursement rates, they'd find a way, in Will Humphrey's terms, they would recruit somebody to teach them how to increase their reimbursement rates, right? That's taking ownership. But it's easier, and correct me if I'm wrong, you might not have fallen into this problem because you were much more forthright and confident about yourself as even a younger owner. But that is, man, that's out there. What am I going to do? Why would an insurance company worry about me? How can I affect Medicare if it's declining 3% every year? And then they throw their hands up in the air, just like my friend who I went to lunch with, who can't find good people to work for him. Like, okay, you're just at effect of the environment around you, and keep your head down in the sand, keep treating patients. Yeah, take whatever comes, I guess. That's not ownership.
No, it's not. And what I like to remind people of is you've already proven to the entire world that you have the capacity to learn. All of these things, business, there's no right way to do business. Right? Like you do business different than the way that I do business. And so there's the way that Steve does business. But I do business in the way that aligns with my skill set and the way that I solve problems. Right. So we're all just on this journey of like getting better at solving problems. Right. That's all it is. You're just learning how to solve problems. And they're just packaged in different. You're learning how to solve the recruiting problem and the money problem and the finance problem. Right. So you have the capacity to learn. You've gone to school and you've done that in PT school and you learned all those things. You made A's, you got through all that, but you stopped learning, right? So like all of these things are very learnable. Like you just need to decide that you want to learn them and that you're willing to invest in that learning too, with your time and your money. And when you do that and you put your full attention on it as if, because you know the buck stops with you, and your entire team is depending on you to solve this problem, and you have that compelling will to solve the problem, you'll solve the problem. you'll solve it. But if you sit back and you hesitate and you wait on, man, if I just waited out a little longer, things might get better game, that's a bad game to play. That's a real bad game to play.
Then you're being reactive to everything around you, instead of being proactive, leading the group, moving forward. And being reactionary just means you are at the whims of everything around you, right? And that's not a good place to be in when you're not in full control as the owner.
It's incredible to hear. I mean, you see it in our group, like how awesome are our clients? They're incredible. Look what they're doing. And it's amazing how they join the program and within 30 days, they're hiring providers. And that has been waiting for them the whole time because they decided to take ownership.
It's almost like the program itself wasn't the answer. They just changed their mindset.
You got to hang around with more powerful people.
Yeah, they become more powerful people because we invite them to be so.
Correct.
And when we invite them to step up and be more and be better leaders, things start falling into place. And that's a disservice to say that it's not necessarily due to our program. But that's what's happening is we're speaking these possibilities into people like, why can't you do X, Y, and Z? What's keeping you from X, Y, and Z? Well, let's talk about that fear that you have. Is it realistic? And so, yeah, it's first taking on that idea. And that's what really changed in my company back in the day. And I tie it to when I hired on my consultant, but it was the consultant that was saying, listen, you are an owner first, and you need to set aside time to be an owner. You're not acting like an owner if you're just treating full time. If you have, think about the greatest owners in the world, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. Elon Musk isn't on the line putting together Teslas or building rocket ships. Jeff Bezos isn't working in the warehouse, dude. They're like owners. And when I finally started modeling that type of behavior, that's when I saw progress in my business. Because now I had a team and I could hold them accountable. And it took a little bit of time to evolve, right? Some people had to get invited off the bus and bring other people on the bus. But as we built it, and Will were committed to a purpose, a vision, and certain values, other people started falling in line. And what happened over time was it wasn't me and Will holding the standard by ourselves anymore. They were empowered, and you're seeing this now. My team is empowered to hire those same types of people such that people are coming into our organization that I had nothing to do with. I never met. And I show up at a clinic and they're like, oh, I haven't seen you before. Hi, my name's Nathan Shields. And I'm like, hi, my name's Julia. And they're like, who are you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm the owner. He's like, and they're like, oh, I've heard about you. Yeah, hey, nice to meet you. That kind of thing. Right. And it builds unto itself. But it started with me getting committed to ownership and living like an owner, acting like a leader, following the values and the purpose that were spelled out to our team.
Love that. You elevated your identity. That's my word. And called everyone with you. Everyone was called to you because first you led yourself. You held yourself accountable to a higher standard.
Right.
Right. Can we talk about how to deliver this to a team now?
I was just going to ask you the same thing. Like, okay, we talked a lot about mindset and some of the higher level things. How do we get our quote unquote people to buy in, or how do we lead our teams better to really take ownership?
Perfect. So you have now dedicated your is dedicated to being an owner, personally and professionally. Now it's time to hold the standard, hold the line, and expect performance from your team. The hard part is it's going to be a little challenging the first few times you do it because you're not going to quite be a believer yet because you haven't done this a lot. So you have to kind of prove to yourself that you actually are the leader that you're trying to be. So it's kind of scary. But the first bullet point is, and I'm going to move through this really quickly, but you got to write down the systems, right? You got to write down the systems and the processes and deliver something that your team can follow. Checklist, right? So like, if you want to learn about systems, go back to a few podcasts ago. Like you should have some things written down. Like how do you schedule people? How do you do an evaluation? How do you do X? How do you do Y? How do you do Z? But
hold on. And you have some examples that you can share with people of those. At least I think you've shared stuff like that in the Facebook group, have you not? Those kind of resources?
Sure. If you need some examples on systems, come to the group, the Private Practice Owners Club Facebook group. Just post in there, I need some SOP help, and I'll drop some systems in there for you.
Job descriptions, SOP help, that kind of stuff. What does this look like? And really quickly, why did you go there instead of making sure they're clear about their purpose and values?
Maybe that's a system, right? Let's assume that that's right. Let's assume that that's right. Let's assume that the values are there.
Okay. They just need to pull them off the shelf and dust them off a little bit.
Right. We need to remind them of what they are.
Let's talk about these a little bit more often on a regular basis.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's what's missing. And I'm saying this from experience of myself and from working with tons of owners. Explicit, direct communication. That's the first thing that's missing because we lead with, hey, Nathan, would it be all right if you could, like, if you had some time, if it wasn't, never mind.
Hey, what do you think about, would it be okay if you, or yeah. I mean, asking instead of being direct.
We need explicit communication. Just tell them what you want. Stop beating around the bush with your team. It's destroying them. It's destroying your culture. They want clarity from you. That doesn't mean you have to be a jerk or be mean. It just means you have to be clear and direct. Hey, Nathan, I saw that you were 10 minutes late today. I'm concerned about that. Can we have a conversation? Hey, Nathan, I saw that Mrs. Smith canceled her appointment and you didn't follow up. Can you have a conversation about that? Right? Very clear, very direct. Stop tiptoeing around other people's feelings or other people's things and just have the conversation. That's what leaders do. Fair enough?
Yeah, because as you start, and I noticed the same thing as we did it, and as I've seen other clients do it, when they start holding people to the values and holding them accountable to certain professional behaviors, initially it ruffles people's feathers because it's different.
I'm gonna talk about that in a second.
Yeah, because what we're trying to do in a bigger picture is go from little mom and pop organization, we're all a tight family and no one gets mad at each other and we just have little family squabbles here and there, to we're running an enterprise and one of our main drivers is profit. And so we need to be committed to the values if this thing is going to survive and grow, right? And people are going to be like, I'm not feeling the family vibe anymore. Like that's a possibility, but we're actually trying to build it, like you go back to what you're talking about, an intentional culture. And the best cultures are highly productive cultures and don't let things slip through the cracks.
And are honest and are true and are clear, right? I think if you're not honest and true with your team, you're drama, and you're not owning it, right? Like if you really care about people, you just tell them the truth because you care, right? So explicit communication is clear. Here's the next part. Write this down. explicit standard, meaning you have to set the bar,
You have to accept the expectation.
the expectation.
Right.
So, Nathan, let me be clear with you. I'm sorry. I apologize, but I need to be clear with you. Moving forward, every patient that cancels must be called within 5 minutes. Is there any lack of clarity on that, or is there any misconception around that? Right?
No.
Very clear. Clears. And what happens is when we set a bar that is a little bit higher than where they're at, you that gap between where they are and where they want to go. And if you lower the bar, you give them comfort. You give your team members comfort. But if you maintain that bar, you actually facilitate a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of inner turmoil. And that's what's called confrontation. They're confronted with their behavior, and they have to make a decision. They have to make a decision at that point. Do I want to leave and not confront this? Or do I want to get better and move through this?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't give your team that opportunity to make that decision, they're going to seek the comfort. Right? So every time you lower the bar, you solve the problem with them, you avoid the conversation, you rob them from that confrontation, and you rob them from the opportunity to grow. And that's what's missing, because we as therapists don't want to hurt people's feelings. Number one, we don't want to hurt people's feelings. I don't either. Number two, we don't want people to quit, because if they quit, that's bad for us because we can't. And we have to be willing to lose them if that's what it takes. Mm-hmm. Because I am a committed owner and the buck stops with me, because I have decided to be that owner. And when you do that from a place of love and compassion, your team will thrive. You will attract the right people into your organization, and the other ones won't.
Yeah, avoiding those, I did it myself, and I appreciate the people that use the language around this, but avoiding that confrontation is a very selfish thing to do. You're thinking about how you will be perceived more than what you expect out of them. So if I'm not having that conversation and inviting them to do more and be better, because more than likely they know they should be holding a different standard. And most people on your team that you want to keep on your team will want to grow and be more and live a higher standard. If I'm not having that conversation, I'm focused on how I feel and how they'll perceive me. To get over that, I have to understand I need to think of them and what's in the best interest for them, whether they stay with my company or not, is the accountability, having that conversation. Because if they continue on this path and they eventually leave me and continue to exhibit those same behaviors, they're going to get fired from the next job too. So it's in their best interest that I have this conversation with them and invite them to grow and be more and do more, so that they can be better employees, even if it's not for me. If it's for me, great. But we've often said in our company, our job was to get you to the next job, whether that's within our company or outside of our company. We want to see your growth. Maybe that's not with us, but if you're going to grow, you need to at least hold these standards and be a better employee for whoever you work with. And that's in their best interest. And so withholding that conversation is a very selfish desire.
It is. It is, because it really, it's your own comfort. And by the way, I'm speaking to myself.
You ain't kidding.
You know what I mean? Like, I've done this 1,000 times and I still do this. So we preserve our own comfort, and we do it because we want the money. We don't want them to leave, and we don't want to have the inconvenience. We don't want to have our schedule disrupted. So it's not about them.
Totally.
It's about us.
Totally.
Have you ever bought a used car?
Oh, yeah.
Bought a few used cars, right? What would you think if you bought a used car? The guy was like, everything on this car is perfect.
Like,
It has no oil leaks, everything, it's running perfect. And then you bought the car, and 3 months later, it had 4 flat tires and the thing was leaking and the air conditioner broke, and you would be a jerk. But if you had a car salesman that was like, well, let me be honest with you, there's a few things wrong here. So it's going to require you to fix this, and it's going to da-da-da-da-da. And I just need to be really honest with you. Is this something that would work for you? And he gave you an opportunity to understand the role, understand what you were getting into, and gave you an opportunity to either decide to buy that car or to move forward. Like, what a great leader. What an honest person. You know what I mean? So don't be the sleazy car salesman. Just be the guy that tells the truth and that's authentic, and just care about the other person.
Well, no owner would ever think of themselves as a sleazy car salesman, but we're doing that when we're not telling them the truth in the interview process. When we go through the interview process and don't tell them what productivity standards look like in our company, then we are the shiny car salesman that's like, listen, I'll get you the salary that you want. We're going to give you all these benefits. And not even hold the productivity conversation and ask them if they're willing to commit to that. Well, you're signing yourself and them up for potential failure. So it wasn't something that I learned early on, but till significantly later. Hey, these are our productivity standards. Do you think you can live up to them? Like that way you're clear from the get-go. What we're talking about right now is people who are already on our teams and how we can help them become greater leaders. Going forward, that conversation begins in the interview process so that you don't have to have these ownership conversations midstream after they've joined your team. This is what to have ownership conversations during the interview process. We believe in extreme ownership, taking responsibility for our roles. Accountability could be another word for it. It's one of our values. This is what accountability to your role looks like. And then start talking about all these things that we're talking about here. It's mindset, fulfilling the job. I'm going to invite you to do more sometimes. And if you fall short, I'm going to call you out on it. Do you have a problem with that?
Yeah. Are we all cool? Like if I hold the line, is that okay?
Yeah.
Great
Or
question.
how do you want to be approached? If you need some correction, how would you like me to approach you? And give them, ask for permission. Like you tell me. I'm going to approach you. You just tell me how to do it. That works for you. And if that's not getting through to you, I'm going to have to find another way, even though you said you like it the other way. And so I think that's where we also started improving our culture and getting that mindset of ownership, was that we started talking about some of these things in the interview process, and the people that aligned with that kind of culture and values were like, hell yeah, I want some of that. And then you start collecting more and more of those people on your team from the get-go.
Yeah. Because and want to be there. They like that stuff.
Yeah.
You know? So real quick, I want to make sure we wrap it up with some bullet points. How to get your team, how to build a team that thinks and acts like owners. Number one, it's intentional, it's designed, it's created. Owners take 100% ownership and responsibility. The buck stops with them, and they recognize that they are willing to do what is required to get the thing done. Okay. Number three, it starts with you. Nobody's going to be an owner until you be an owner. You got to own your culture, own your identity, and hold yourself to a high, and do the hard thing, even when it's scary. Invest in yourself, invest in your people, invest in your company. Number three, deliver. Once you set the bar for yourself, now you can set the bar for others. Mm-hmm. Deliver it explicitly, boldly, with love. Don't lower the bar. Let your team be a little stretched and uncomfortable so that they can confront their behavior and decide to change or leave. Whatever suits them best. Be willing to let them go if that's what it comes down to.
Right.
Celebrate their wins. If you do that, you'll crush it. If you're brave enough to do that, if you have the courage to do that, you'll crush it. And your team, new grads want to be a part of something like that. Mm-hmm. New grads want to be a part of that, right? So if you can build that type of culture, you will attract, just like you mentioned, just like the same thing that's happened to me, you'll attract really, really people to your practice. And you'll hire a lot of people and build a thriving culture.
Yeah, I think that's one of the, and we mentioned it, but that's the thing that we're seeing amongst our clients is just sometimes asking them that question: what would this situation look like if you took total ownership of it? What would have to happen? What would your conversation with that person look like if you didn't care what their response was? But you knew you had to address it anyways.
Or what are you really concerned about? Okay, why don't you tell them that? Why don't you just be honest with them?
But amongst our clients, it's a matter of like saying, why can't you be like an owner now? Are you waiting for, we give you permission. We are right now giving you permission to act like the owner and leader of your company. And what would that look like if you stepped into that role? And things start changing. Have you seen it amongst the people that you're coaching? Like, you don't have to give them step-by-step orders on what to do next, but just say, you're the owner. What's keeping you from acting like it? What are those fears? And are they realistic? You know, what's keeping you from taking action, having the conversation, setting the standard XYZ. And then as they take on that mindset, it's funny, they kind of figure out some of the solutions themselves.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And we're not saying that's the only thing you need to do. It's a work in progress.
That's right.
It's reading books, collecting resources, podcasts, etc., webinars, educational courses, conferences, webinars, workshops. Hint, hint, got some coming up. Right. If everyone doesn't know, we've got the conference coming up October 2 through 4 in Destin, Florida. So go to the Facebook group page. You'll see it.
Be there or be square.
Right. And we're talking about some of this stuff. We will have some amazing speakers talking to ownership and what that mindset looks like. So check that out. Go to the Facebook group, check it out, look for the event. You can even pre-register now to get all the details that you need. And by the time this comes out, I think we're actually going to have the landing page up and going for registration. Mm-hmm. So go to the events page on the Facebook group. We'll get that information to you. But anything else you want to do to wrap this up?
I think you guys are incredible. I believe in you. You are worthy. You're capable. There's nothing that can stop you as long as you decide to go for it. And if you need any help, reach out. Happy to support you or connect you with somebody who can help you find what's next for you.
Yeah, if I was to talk to myself at a certain stage where this kind of thing wasn't happening, it would be take courage. When you make the right moves that are in the best interest of you and the company, it always works out.
It does, doesn't it? It always works out.
You make the right moves and have the right conversations at the right time with the people that need it, things work out. Mm-hmm. And as you do more of those conversations and make more of those decisions which are in the best interest of the company, things get better and people want to follow you.
What's good for the business is good for the bank account.
Totally true, dude. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if it's in the best, if you've got a crappy front desk person who's not a people person and isn't doing what you're asking to do, you are losing a lot of money.
For sure. Get
rid of them, even if you don't know what their replacement looks like. And you will do better. We've seen it happen too much. So that's what I would say to myself. But I think it was a great topic. Thanks for sharing your insight on it, man. And if people want to reach out to us, go to the Facebook group, reach out to us individually. Adam and I are on the Facebook group quite often, but you can also DM us through the Facebook group, find us on LinkedIn, you name it, even email Adam@ppoclub.com and Nathan@ppoclub.com. And look out for our conferences in the near future. All right.
Sounds good, man.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you.